a race to elect the new Conservative Party leader in the United Kingdom has intensified. Yesterday, the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced that he will not be available to contest the leadership position. Today, it will be clear which candidates will contest that election. For more on this, we are joined by SABC News correspondent John Bevir. John, a good morning to you. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I want to take a few steps back actually and talk about, after the resignation of Liz Truss, what the steps were taken by Boris Johnson there, where there was that assertion that he would be standing for the position of Prime Minister once again, and what led to him then pulling out of the race.
Well, he never actually announced that he was going to be taking part in the race. It was his supporters, the senior members of cabinet, the so-called big beasts, that he was leaning on and hoping that having the support of some notable politicians here in the UK was going to lead to a tidal wave of support for him to come riding back into Westminster, breaking off a Caribbean holiday to come back here and to come back into 10 Downing Street, not far from me now, to be the man in charge of the Conservative MPs in Parliament behind me. But it quickly became apparent yesterday, on Sunday, that he maybe didn't have the support that he was claiming to have. He needs to have the support of 100 MPs in a vote taking place at 2 o'clock local time here. And if he has that support, then his name would be put forward to be elected the potential next Prime Minister only a month after he left the job last time around. So it became apparent yesterday that maybe what they were saying in public and on Twitter especially, claiming that he had the support of many members of the Conservative Party, maybe that just wasn't actually the case, and he didn't have the support they were claiming, and so that he's pulled out because he didn't have that magic 100 MPs that he needed in order to get through to the next stage to find out who's going to be the next Prime Minister, which, if there's more than one person left in the race, we're going to find out about by the end of this week.
Yeah, let's talk about who the front runners possibly could be and where we are now in the process. I imagine that there's quite a bit of pressure to bring about stability in the leadership of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, there absolutely is. So the firm favourite is Rishi Sunak. He is the former finance minister, the former chancellor of the Exchequer, as it's called here. And he was the man, if you remember, who last month came second to Liz Truss in the leadership campaign. So he was the man who missed out in September, and certainly everyone thinks he is the man who is going to win it in October. He only has one opponent in this bid to become the next Prime Minister. Her name is Penny Mordaunt. She is the leader of the House of Commons. She's had various jobs in government before that. Probably most notably, she was former Secretary of State. But this magic number of 100 MPs and having their support in order to get through to the next stage where Conservative Party members around the country vote for who they want. Well, Penny Mordaunt publicly doesn't seem to have support. Rishi Sunak has over 150 MPs have publicly declared that they are supporting him. So we know that he is definitely into the next phase of things. But yes, his only opponent, Penny Mordaunt, then she has under 50 MPs publicly supporting her. So unless there are a lot of people behind the scenes saying that they're going to support her, but not saying it publicly, then she might not get the 100 votes from MPs that she needs in order to get through to the next stage. It might be that she drops out before the vote takes place to save face and to claim that it's all about uniting the Conservative Party and bringing a degree of stability. Of course, that might happen, or we might see that she sticks with it until the bitter end in a bid to be the next Prime Minister here in the UK.
Yeah, and just, John, before I let you go, just take me through what the timeline really looks like from now onwards, right? We talked about the pressure to stabilise leadership. What happens next, to take us through what that programme really looks like until there is officially a Prime Minister in that seat?
Well, we could have a new Prime Minister today. If Rishi Sunak, as people widely believe, is very much the firm favourite, is very much in the lead, has the support of the 100 MPs needed to get through to the next phase, if he is uncontested for any of those reasons I was just talking about, then he would automatically be elected. And we could have that degree of stability start to be introduced right now. If Penny Mordaunt gets the 100 MPs she needs and gets through that, well, then the Conservative Party have got an issue again. They have to go back out to a vote. Of the Conservative Party members, only around 200,000 people are members of the Conservative Party and eligible to vote. They will be doing an online vote, and we will have a new Prime Minister announced by Friday. So that's the timeline of it, but you're absolutely right to focus on stability. Of course, we have the issue of the Prime Minister is the person at the top. The Prime Minister is the one who keeps changing. But remember, of course, when a Prime Minister changes, they make a lot of changes to their cabinet as well, to their senior politicians. So if you have a look at something like the Home Secretary, for example, we've had 4 in 4 years. Those are the people in charge of national security and policing and immigration, all these hugely important topics. If we have constant change in those key roles, then we're never seeing these long-term policies get implemented. It would be like you or I being at work and our boss constantly changing and never quite knowing what direction we're meant to be going in. Yeah. So everyone very keen, for the sake of the UK, the sake of the economy especially, hoping that there is going to be a degree of stability brought about once things unfold in Parliament behind me today. Yeah,
and just one last question, John, before I let you go. I'm keen to just hear what what is being said by those on the sidelines of this race now to fill that seat of the Prime Minister. Anything that we're hearing now from Liz Truss following her resignation, and also quite a rocky start to the reign of King Charles III. Anything from the King?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a rocky start, isn't it, for the new king? The king will very much, when he was Prince of Wales, he was very keen to make his views known about certain things, the environment, for example. But when it comes to being king and being monarch, certainly if he takes the lead of his mother, then very much you're meant to keep your opinions to yourself, especially politically. Now, officially, the king is the person who puts the seal of approval on an elected leader, but very much would be seen to not be commenting on what they think about that elected leader. Yeah. So that will be something that we'll be looking out for when we do have a new leader elected. What is worth pointing out, though, is that the opposition politicians here are all unanimously calling for a new general election. They say that this is undemocratic, that you shouldn't have a second change of Prime Minister in a matter of weeks, and that really is not fair, and that this needs to go back to the people. The Conservative Party very keen to avoid that, because if the latest polls are to be believed, they would take an absolute hammering if there was a general election tomorrow. Labour would sweep in with a massive majority, so they are keen to avoid that, but plenty of people saying there needs to be a general election sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking to us, John Bevir there, who is our SABC correspondent, speaking to us from the United Kingdom.